Welcome back to the Goodol'boys channel. Today we're going to be talking about gearing for this Hawk. Now this is a 2019, but this will pretty much be the same for most all of these Hawk bikes. I guess I may as well start off with this bike is completely stock except obviously the gearing. I did change the chain and it has a 110 main jet in the carburetor. Other than that, the bike's completely stock. It even has the original tires on it. For the next part here, it's going to be easier to show you than to tell you. This is our chart. You guys will be able to look at this once it's filled out at the end of the video. So over here we have our gearing ratios. You can read through those. Then basically what we're going to be doing is getting a mile per hour reading. So for this first column, miles per hour at 5,500 RPM in first gear. So the mile per hour reading is going to be different depending on which gearing we have in the bike. The second column is miles per hour at 5,500 RPM in fifth gear. The last column is going to be kind of more or less like a top speed column. We're going to be cruising at 5,500 RPM in fifth gear, and we're going to go from 5,500 RPM cruising to wide open throttle. I'm going to hold it wide open for 10 seconds. And then at that point, the GPS on my phone is going to get the highest mile per hour reading recorded. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, this will all be filled out and probably will make more sense at the end of the video. One other thing that I wanted to add in here is that 5,500 RPM is significant because that's the perfect number, I think, for engine RPM for cruising. It's not too low and it's not too high. If you're lower than that, your bike will kind of like violently shake, and then if you're higher than that, you get like a very high frequency vibration, and neither of those feel good. So when you find that sweet spot, which is about 5,500 RPM, that's about the perfect RPM for cruising. You can see I have just the normal gauge, so there's no tack on that, so I had to have this thing, and that's going to be how we're telling exactly what RPM we're at. Now this thing is set correctly. I have a video on how to set this in the description box below. You guys can check that out and see for yourselves. Now you can see where the phone is mounted on the bike. This is how I'm going to be getting accurate mile per hour readings. I have a speed reader app, and hopefully you guys can see it from the GoPro footage. All right, here we go. As you guys could see from the video, unfortunately you cannot see the information that's on my phone, which I have the GPS tracker. It has the biggest numbers on the screen that it could possibly have, and they're like bright green. So I guess my phone screen brightness just isn't bright enough to pick up on the GoPro. So you guys will kind of just have to trust me with the information that I give you. It's all as accurate as I can possibly make it or get it. Okay, so here's all the information charted up. You guys can pause the video, take a second to kind of comprehend what all this means here, but I'm going to go over it real quick. So the gearing here, we've got the column of gearing. This is from highest to lowest gearing. So the higher gearing is going to make the bike go faster. The lowest gearing is going to make the bike go slower and have more torque. And then we'll go over these columns quick. Miles per hour at 5,500 RPM in first gear, miles per hour at 5,500 RPM in fifth gear. This column is kind of the top speed, more or less. So what I did was I would put the bike in fifth gear, and once it's at 5,500 RPM, I would mat the throttle and hold it wide open for 10 seconds and then let off at the end of 10 seconds. And my phone would record a top speed, and that's what you see here. And you'll notice here most of these numbers have a small range to them. That's just to account for any errors in technology or GPS or anything like that. This was the only one that I was sure was like pretty much dead on. This stuff is fairly accurate, and it's a good baseline to go off of for you
Now,
guys.
I just wanted to give you my opinion on a couple of different gearing sets that we tested today. So here we go. The 17 tooth front, 40 tooth rear. The bike will run at 60 miles an hour at 6,000 RPMs without feeling like you're over revving the bike too much, which is really nice. If you need to cruise at 60, you can with that gearing. Now, flat out, the bike will go 65 miles per hour with that gearing. That's all it will do. The 15 tooth front, 40 tooth rear, it'll barely reach 60 miles an hour if you just hold it wide open. It's not good on-road gearing, and it's not good off-road gearing. It's a little too low for on-road and a little too high for off-road in my opinion. The 50 tooth rear sprocket, unfortunately, as you guys saw, I was not able to get that to go on the bike with the situation I had with the chain. It was just too short, and I wasn't going to hack the chain up to put that on there. But what I will tell you is that I did run the 15 tooth front and 50 tooth rear gearing when I first got the bike. It's perfect for wheelies and off-road, but it's definitely not suited for on-road by any means. Moving on to the 17 tooth front, 42 tooth rear. Right now, this is my favorite combo for on-road. I think I am going to keep the 42 tooth rear sprocket on there. It's got good, what I would call passing power, which basically means if you're cruising at 55 miles an hour and you punch the throttle, I mean, it has some pickup. It's not like the taller gearing where it just kind of bogs and slowly goes. It actually still has some pickup at 55 miles an hour, so that's really nice. With the 17 tooth front, 42 tooth rear, it'll cruise at 55 miles an hour without the feeling of over revving, so that's really nice as well. The 15 tooth front and 42 tooth rear, I would not recommend this as road gearing. It'll cruise at 50 miles an hour without the feeling of over revving, so it'd be okay for in town or like 45 miles an hour or less roads. Now it obviously does great in the trails. I really like it. The first gear speed is perfect. It's not too fast, it's not too slow, and the bike has plenty of power for hill climbs and obstacles. Now I did just want to talk a little bit more about the 42 tooth rear sprocket. I think this sprocket is perfect for the best of both worlds, especially if you have your bike set up like I do. And I just switch between the 17 tooth and the 15 tooth on the front of the bike, and that way you can get the best of both worlds. If I'm going on a off-road riding trip for the weekend, I'll put the 15 tooth on there. If I know I'm going to be doing a lot of road riding, I'll put the 17 tooth on the front. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully you learned something. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out the description box below. There's going to be lots of other hawk videos down there, as well as other riding videos. Check them all out. They're all pretty cool. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.